Hi there, and welcome to our Friday's Empowering Self and Soul Esteem sessions. I hope you're doing well. Welcome. So today we're going to talk about self-sabotage and cyclical patterns of behavior that are perhaps unwanted. This is a huge subject, as you can imagine, and it's something that we all experience, self-sabotage, of course. So what is this about? It's really a big conversation. So let's remember that there's a lot being spoken about at the moment about the collective unconscious that we all are part of. We've inherited this. This has been passed down generationally, and it's a big deal. We've got a big weight on our shoulders at the moment in terms of navigating our own personal empowerment, our own lives, and yet we're carrying all of this collective karma, aren't we? I think there's no denying it now that we've always known, the mystical truth, the universal truth that we are all one, we're all feeling everything, we're all connected ultimately. That we all have come from this higher nature, truly, and that we're not separate beings on this planet, truly, because we're all interconnected in many, many ways. It's a huge conversation, and I want to talk today about this self-sabotage and these cyclical patterns of behavior and where they've come from. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit in a minute about an incredible book that I highly recommend you dive into, because it really speaks to, as does what I'm about to speak about, yes, us as a collective, but a perspective for us all to really see ourselves from, so that with the concept, with this realization that we are all experiencing the same issues in this lifetime here on Earth. And the way in which we get to accept that, work with that, transcend through that, work with our struggles, the shadow sides of our personality that we're all experiencing, and it's quite heavily being felt right now psychically. There's such polarity, and that we get to embrace that, we are all parts of ourselves ultimately. So that once we accept it, instead of resisting things, then we can move forward, then we can step into just like really opening up to receive new parts of life that truly can't get through whilst ever we're just stuck in these patterns, totally oblivious to the fact that we can come out of them. So I want to talk to you first of all about archetypal patterns of behavior, which we've touched on this in previous sessions, but they are a huge part of our life here on Earth. They at a higher perspective affect all of us. We're all carrying these. There are many, and it's to do with they're like powers that filter down into us. There are ways of being. There are all the different hats that we wear. They control our behavior, our personality. People, you may know of someone in your life who's like a real warrior. They have this like burning desire always to forge forward, to fix things, to be the carrier for everybody, and to be the leader and be brave and strong. And then you have the archetype of someone who is a princess, who absolutely just wants to be taken care of, and everything in their persona just oozes this princess character, that's going to struggle ultimately with being independent. She's always codependent, or he as a princess is always codependent, and never really able to step into their queen and being whole, being strong, and all those other elements that the Queen has. So with every archetype, there are light aspects and there are shadow aspects. And in all of the archetypes that we carry, that we embrace, that we are, you know, we get to look at the shadow side as well as the light, because so many of us are not doing that, and that's why we can't move forward. That's why we can't see ourselves as a whole being. We only, you know, we hide through shame, and a lot of that's come through in our childhood. You know, it's been infused, as I mentioned, from generation to generation. We've inherited that shame that's been placed on us unknowingly, psychically, by our parents and our, you know, people out there in our life who we look up to, ultimately our teachers, our mentors, you know, people that we've looked up to in our life. So it gets passed down, we inherit it. And, you know, and we take it in, and we struggle to move forward with things. We've become dependent in ways from our childhood. We've become dependent on ways of being, escape from reality, because it feels safe. So we've kind of kept ourselves in a cocoon through survival. Ultimately, we've adapted to survive. And the ways that we've adapted to survive socially, in childhood, in adulthood, you know, they have kept us perhaps safe when we were children. It was smart, but as we've grown into teenage years, we've begun to bury these feelings and become so dependent on other influences such as alcohol, whatever it is, to really this kind of even victim kind of mentality, because it gets, if we play the victim, we get support and attention in ways that we believe actually helps us. It keeps us safe. It's all about adaptations of survival, ultimately, that we've developed. And in adulthood, it's very difficult to let go of them when we've carried them for so many years, and they're layers and layers deep. So this concept of archetypes, we have survival archetypes in us. It's just part of our nature. One of them being the saboteur. Carolyn Mace talks about the 4 survival archetypes. There are many in and amongst all of this, but her 4 categories are the child archetype, of which there are many, which we've spoken about, the saboteur, the victim, which this whole shame-based culture, this victim consciousness that we've inherited, is within us. It truly is. And it's not through one person's fault. It's not through the fault of our own. Not that anything is any of our fault. Like, really, I don't believe in blame and that kind of just that word alone, blame. It just negates all responsibility. And I'm all for taking responsibility, full responsibility. And that's why I'm talking about understanding our shadow, the shadow sides, the parts of our character that we can't see. We don't know about them. We can't see them. They're in the shadow. As well as just focusing on the good parts of who we are. You know, we get to see both. We get to see that we're human. We get to work with both and realize that not only us, you know, everyone else out there has exactly, like the saboteur, like the victim, we all share these forces, these psychic, this weight that are survival, ways of being, adaptations to survive, etc. It's a weight that we carry when we, you know, when we never truly move past this, when we don't embrace the light and the shadow sides. So we get to kind of work on this. It's work. It's what we call shadow work. It's these are the elements in our character that, and we all have them, no matter how far on we are. We all carry them around, and we all get to work on them and bring them into the light so that we can see ourselves as a whole. And once we can see ourselves as a whole and forgive ourselves, forgive those parents, those people in our lives that we struggle with to understand, that we struggle to have compassion for, because they're living so much in their darkness, unaware, blind to the fact of what they're doing, the way they're behaving, the effect that they have on people. We get to just humble up and be compassionate towards those who cannot, who are struggling. They just can't. Sometimes, you know, we can't see what we can't see. So it's a process. It's a lifelong process for all of us. But these survival archetypes are, and a huge one being the child, because during childhood we adapted to survive in situations. These are with us today, 100%, and we carry them around collectively and individually. So this is where our saboteur comes in, because whilst ever we don't accept and work with and take responsibility for all sides of ourselves, we are going to keep going back to sabotaging. We get to bring everything into the light. You know, I remember Dr. Joe Dispenza talking, and it's so true. I mentioned this previously about his Rewired series on Gaia, that there's like, let's see, so here we are, we're in the, you know, we have the heart chakra, and we have information coming in, intuitive guidance all the time on a daily basis, coming in. This is our higher nature. This is where we're all connected. It's all coming in every day. And so we have this information coming in, and we just know instinctively every moment, every day, how to respond, how to behave. Should we give our power away? Should we react or not react? And in our heart, this is where, you know, our life is super expansive. This is where compassion comes from. This is where forgiveness comes from. This is where we get to love, not just as a romantic love. This is where we get to truly connect and truly feel others and truly be with others. It all comes from the heart chakra. It all comes from that connected part of who we are. And Joe Dispenza talks about it in that, you know, when we're incoherent, when we don't have coherence between the mind, so the smart part of our brain, and the heart, when this is incoherent, when we're not living from our heart, we're not communicating from our heart, we're not being truthful, life can get difficult. And the moment we do that, you know, there is inconsistency, incoherence, and that's when we give ourselves the excuse to back down, to not speak, to check out, to choose an easy option. And all of the reasons why we choose to check out, whether it's through alcohol, whatever it is because we're carrying elements of shame, and, you know, it's like we're carrying it in our energetic field, we're carrying it in our body. It's keeping us dense. I've spoken before about the anchors that we have. What are we attached to? You know, what is stopping me from speaking my truth? What is stopping me from being coherent, from hearing, knowing better, to doing better? You know, it takes work. It absolutely takes work. It's not something that's just going to happen like that. So it takes work. And so I want you to look this weekend, and I'm going to come to this book in a minute, at how can we really look at this problem of being of self-sabotage. Like, self-sabotage is almost like we're out of our being. If we're in our being and we're being coherent, then we're not going to sabotage ourselves. We know better. We know when we should stop. We know when we just need to say no and put our a healthy boundary in the way of, just to be present and in the moment. When we self-sabotage, we're not present. We're not, and when you're about to do something and that thought comes in, I know I shouldn't do that, and you do it anyway. That's what I'm talking about, checking out, not going with what you know, and you literally know it. It's congruency, and you choose otherwise. So our work with self-sabotage is just to put the awareness, bring the awareness in when those thoughts come through, when you're given a choice, when you get to make a choice about this. And to consider, why do I choose to do something that is going to go against my health ultimately? If we're in alignment and we're coherent, we're totally healthy in every possible way. It's as simple as that. So there's a lot of work to do with this self-sabotage. So how do we get to really work on it and come out of those repeated, those checking out things that we do, whether it's going quiet, not using our voice, being afraid, all of those elements, they're deep, deep, deep in the subconscious. Very, very hard to bring them into the light and work with them, isn't it? It's very, very difficult because it's a pattern. And this is not only a pattern, it's not just our pattern, it's the archetypes and the psychic forces that are also controlling our patterns. It's super powerful. And it's not, this is why shame and blame will never work. It will never work, because whilst ever we're blaming and shaming everyone else and blaming and shaming ourselves, we're never going to come out of these. It keeps it in the subconscious. We keep it in the dark, and we need to bring these things into the light. We truly, truly get to bring them into the light. Because in the light, when we tell the truth and we align and we're coherent and we're present, there is no issue. That anchor, that weight just disappears. We get to be fully and wholly responsible for our choices. Now, everything that I've said may feel like, what is she talking about? This is really deep. It is deep, unfortunately. And it comes, unfortunately, we all, we don't have this conversation very often because it is deep and because it takes presence, it takes willingness to look deeper and accept the sides of ourselves that we bury because we feel shame around them. But here's the truth. We can't, the collective consciousness in terms of where we're all carrying this heavy, 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 heavy weight. Yes, we can't carry it for everyone. And the thing is, we have a choice. We don't have to carry it for everyone. Yes, it is affecting us. But the more we work at letting go of that and choosing to do what we can do, which is become aware of our personal contribution, our personal relationships and ways of relating, our personal dialogue, our personal ways of communicating, the vocabulary that we use, what we filter into our mind, who we listen to, who we hang out with, makes the world of difference. Because once we can be in a place and be in an environment where we get to be forgiven all the time and get to not blame and step into trying again, fall down. Yes, we're always going to fall down. We're always going to bugger it up. We're always going to sabotage. Always. always. That's not something that we're ever going to get rid of. But what we can do is look at why we're doing it. And the moment we start to realize why we're doing things and how we can start to change and start to begin to take moment by moment by moment step forward, that cycle does begin to transform without a doubt. It's powerful stuff, and it takes attention and it takes work. And I want to bring this to you, to your thoughts. So this book is incredible. Right there. Transforming Fate to Destiny by Robert Ohotto. Now, I listened to him doing a talk. I'm now in his membership. He does a lot around holocampus astrology and archetypes and transforming ultimately fate into destiny. He wrote this book. This is, wow, for anyone who's never done any of this work or anything at all around personal growth or, the archetypes or around astrology. This is a great book because he's so, he speaks and just articulates beautifully, very, very, in a very simple manner. This is so powerful. He talks about the collective unconscious, what we're carrying, what's underneath the psyche. And wow, it just like puts everything in a very ABC way of reading it, way of understanding it, that it actually supports us with realizing who we are underneath it all, and how we can move forward, and how this fated life that we have is what it is, which is everything, and the depth and the real depth of that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But all of that we get to accept and realize this is part of our fate. We've carried this, we've chosen to be here on this planet right now in the life that we live, and this is what we get to carry. This is what we came here for. You know, we really did. So what he's talking about in this book is the acceptance of that. And that in fact, once we begin to accept that and bring everything into the light, everything I just spoke about, we begin to open up to really creating the life that we want. So that's the question, is what is it that you want? And this just brings you into the present moment, accepting of the fact that, yes, we've carried this. We're carrying all of this psychic weight right now. And it's all good because this is what we came here for. So let me read you a couple of little extracts. It's not extracts, actually. They're little quotes. I'm going to read you the first one from Deepak Chopra that's in here. There's a few little quotes. There aren't many, actually. It's all mostly his own words, and they are brilliant. I highly recommend you get this book. So there's a very short little extract here from Deepak Chopra about exactly everything that I just spoke about in terms of realizing not just the light aspects of who we are, our archetypes, but the shadow. So here we go. Befriending the shadow. Within everyone, there is a light and shadow, good and evil, love and hate. In order to be truthful, you must embrace your total being. A person who exhibits both positive and negative qualities, strengths and weaknesses, is not flawed, but complete. Okay, powerful stuff. It's exactly what we've just been talking about, and it's so true. It's so, so, so true. And then the last one I want to read to you here is from Rumi, and this is under a chapter that Robert's written. It's a chapter called Surrender, and you know that a lot of my work is all about surrendering, coming into the present moment, letting go, so that we can move forward and go into a new cycle. Truly, we can't move forward if we don't let go. And that's what it's all about, pulling up those anchors. And this particular piece is by Rumi, and it reads, and I want to say, people talk about God, they talk about Lord, these wisdom quotes, truly, this is not about God, the man-made God that we call our higher nature, which is actually the universe. It's the divine. It's law, in fact. It's all the laws of the universe. And when we learn to live with the laws of the universe, that is heaven. That is God. That is the divine. That's what's really holding and embracing all of us. That's what it is. It's not some man-made God. So when someone talks about God, for example, Rumi's about to use the word Lord, he, I believe, is talking about our higher nature, the universe, the divine. Remember the deep root of your being, the presence of your Lord. Give your life to the one who already knows, who already owns your breath and your moments. I'm going to read that again. Remember the deep root of your being, the presence of your Lord. Give your life to the one who already owns your breath and your moments. If you don't, you'll be wasting the treasure of your life and foolishly ignoring your dignity and your purpose. Isn't that stunning? Fate to destiny. I'm going to read it one more time. It's so beautiful. Remember the deep root of your being, the presence of your Lord. Give your life to the one who already owns your breath and your moments. If you don't, you'll be wasting the treasure of your life and foolishly ignoring your dignity and your purpose. Rumi. It's exquisite, absolutely exquisite, and it is so true. Be in the present. Be in the now. Let go of the past and what you thought, the illusion that your life is fated. You get to choose your destiny. So on that note, the final note, just before you head off for the weekend, if you are really struggling with self-sabotaging and like really struggling with healing, moving forward, in the link is, in the description below, is the link to my free 4-part training series. There's a little video at the beginning, you'll see, and then you can sign up. It's totally free. This work is very, very deep. And, you know, it's a free gift. It is intense, so take it at your own pace. But if you really want to overcome and move through and out the other side of these patterns of behavior that are keeping you stuck, that are not serving you, they will never go away until you face them head on. And this training series supports you with diving in, and you'll see that you can reach out to me at any time if you have any questions or need support. Okay, so the offer is there for you. We get to do the work, guys. We get to do the work. So I send you into the weekend with much love, and shoot me any messages if you have any. Please give me your feedback. Tell me if there's anything I can support you with these empowering self and soul esteem sessions. Maybe today was a little bit deep. It'll give you some thoughts for the weekend. Go ahead and join, take the free training, and know that I'm here to support if you need. But do please share if there's anything I can support you with these sessions. I will be happy to help. That's what I'm here for. All right. Have an amazing weekend and enjoy your Friday. Bye for now. See you next week.